Today we are going to be starting a ton of herbs. Our first herb we are starting is Echinacea purpura. I got this from Baker Creek, and last year they were just massive and gorgeous, and I loved them. These are a perennial, and they will spread because they can drop seed if you don't collect all the seed heads. We are able to indoor start these, obviously, and you do want to because they take so long to mature. Mine did not take a full year to mature, as the days to maturity said. They did take a really long time, however. It was probably 6 months until I got an actual flower. We want to plant these at a seed depth of 1/8 of an inch. When we do put them outside, you want them 8 inches apart. Again, these guys get big, and it's a thing. They only need about 4 hours of sunlight, and their ideal temp is from 65 degrees to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Next is green twister coneflower, which is also Echinacea purpura. This, however, has different colors. It's pink and green, and it looks really pretty. This is my first time growing this one. I got it from Baker Creek. Again, this is a perennial. You want them 1/8 of an inch apart, and then the seed spacing outdoors when you go to transplant them is 10 inches apart. 15 days to emerge in your tray, and these have a days to maturity of 90 days. Which I think for the previous Echinacea purpura is about roughly the same. It just did not take me a full year, even though that is what all the data said it took. They are cold tolerant, and the awesome thing is they only need 4+ hours of sunlight. So these can go into a shadier part of your garden and give you just an amazing color. And with all of the medicinal benefits of Echinacea, I think everybody should probably have at least 1 to 2 of these plants in their garden. They are great pollinator attractors, and they're just so freaking pretty. Next, we are starting our lavender, and this is an English tall lavender. It is a medicinal lavender that I got from Botanical Interests. Lavender and I do not get along when I try to grow it, but we are yet trying again. So that is why I'm doing so many of these plants. Plus, I need a ton, and if I am to buy them from the store, that would cost just a ton of money. Our seed depth is 1/8 of an inch. Once we go to transplant these outside, they need to be about 24 inches apart. It takes 50 to 90 days for these to emerge, so you must be patient with lavender. It does say that you should cold stratify these. However, I did not, simply because last year when I started my comfrey, I cold stratified some and didn't others, and the ones that I didn't cold stratify did way better. I don't have the days to maturity on here simply because lavender it's snooty. It's a snooty plant, and it will just pop up whenever the heck it feels like popping up, and there's nothing we can really do about it. Luckily, it is cold tolerant, so that is a bonus, and it needs about 8+ hours of sunlight, and 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit is its ideal temp. Then we have German chamomile, as I ninja my cats away from my seeds. So chamomile is both known as a perennial and an annual. What actually happens with chamomile is once the flower heads fall down, it reseeds itself. So therefore, it kind of acts like a perennial, but that exact same plant is not going to come back. So if you harvest all of your German chamomile, it's not going to have time to reseed itself. Or we are going to surface sow this, which is basically you lightly put it down, you cover it with some dirt, and that's it. It takes about 15 days to emerge. It needs 8+ hours of sunlight. The ideal temp is 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and it can take roughly 105 days to actually start to produce the flowers. This is also cold tolerant, which is great, and it will just continue to produce. Sometimes, if it gets a little too hot, it does die back a little bit, but then it will pop right back once it starts to cool down again. Next on our list is St. John's wort, which I have gotten to grow from seed before. However, the deer ate it, and so did the rabbits. So we are going to be doing this yet again. St. John's wort is a perennial. It is also indoor started. We need to surface sow this again, so you're very lightly putting the seeds down and just putting a little bit of dirt over them. I do put the holes because it's just how I manage where I'm putting seeds at that time. It takes about 20 days to emerge. When you go to plant these outside, you need to put them about 12 inches apart. They need 8+ hours of sunlight, and their ideal temp is around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and it takes about 105 days for these to mature. Next, we have our Rocky Mountain Blue Columbine. Every time I buy this from the store, the plants die. So I'm going to try from seed this year and see how they go. It is a perennial. We do indoor start. This is surface sown as well. Many of our herbs are surface sown. Once we transplant these outside, we do want to put them about 12 inches apart. They require 6+ hours of sunlight. However, they do not like heat. They are not happy with heat. It disturbs them greatly and they will go kaput. So their ideal temp is around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's when you're going to see most of your blooms. Their days to maturity is about 365 days, and from previous experience, I'm pretty sure that it's accurate as well as the research I have done. They are cold tolerant. Again, look at the ideal temp of 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Also do not like a lot of sun. Burning hot sun goes very badly for your Rocky Mountain Blue Columbine. And what is a garden without rosemary? Come on, we all have to have rosemary, right? We love cooking with it. Rosemary is a perennial, so the seeds that you're starting now, once they emerge and they do their thing, they will come back every year. So know exactly where you want to plant this and keep it. Our seed spacing when we transplant these outside is going to be 36 inches because they can get fairly large. The seeds will take roughly 30 days to emerge. They're going to need 8+ hours of sunlight. The ideal temp is 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and it takes roughly 120 days for rosemary to mature. Luckily, it is cold tolerant like the rest of the herbs in these trays. I love rosemary. You don't need a whole lot of rosemary. And the reason I am planting so much of all of these herbs that I know I don't need a ton of is my plan is to turn my entire front yard into a perennial medicinal herb garden. Rosemary, though we cook with it, also has its own medicinal properties as well. I know celery is not technically an herb. However, it does take frickin' forever to mature. So I am starting it with my early season herbs because it is cold tolerant. It is an annual. If you leave some in the ground, it'll keep sprouting, but eventually it will die off and it won't come back the next year. These are surface sown. The seeds are super freaking tiny, y'all. You want to space them about 6 inches apart outdoors, and it takes about 30 days just for them to emerge, and then 120 days for them to actually become edible somewhat. Our ideal temp is 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and they need about 6+ hours of sunlight to make sure that they are healthy plants. And then we have celery for bone broth, which is what I mainly use it for. The last seed we are planting in this tray is Feverfew. I got this from Botanical Interests. It ran about $2.49 per pack at that time. This again is surface sown. When we go to transplant outside, we are going to want this 12 inches apart. It will take roughly 15 days for this to emerge in the tray and 90 days to become fully mature outdoors. Its ideal temp is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It will need 8+ hours of sunlight. And Feverfew is also one of those really pretty dainty flowering plants that is also an amazing medicinal herb to keep in your back pocket. It looks beautiful freeze-dried on the shelf, and you can make teas from it, tinctures. It's just an amazing all the way around. Last but not least, we are going to spray down the tray with a mix of water and Neptune's Harvest and then magically transport to the basement where we are going to bottom water the tray so that we do not disturb our seeds. Yes, I have another tray down there because I was getting blinded by all the light. The reason we bottom water is, again, you do not want to disturb the little tiny seeds that you just put on there. Also, if you notice my numbering on this tray, in my Google Sheet that's available in the Stand store, I put an extra tab on mine so that I can keep track of all of my trays without having to have sticks because my holes are so small. I am also double checking that it's level so that all the water goes to the appropriate places. It's really important that your shelves have adjustable feet so you can make sure that your water is going evenly everywhere. We're going to pop these under the lights with some saran wrap because my plastic just got here, and I'm going to go put that on them now. See you in the next one. Bye.